Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us from wherever you are and whatever time you choose to be watching our virtual Christmas Eve service brought to you by the team at St. Andrew's Church in Owen Sound. We're really happy that you joined us for this time and trust that it will be a uplifting and encouraging time of Christmas music and words. This is actually the only time you'll be hearing from me throughout the entire time together. We're just going to flow from one musical item into the next. And there will be a variety of things throughout our time. Some music from our choir that Matthew has put together, carol medleys that I will lead us in, a devotional time from Reverend Jerry Hofstetter, and a special appearance from my daughter Paige, singing a song with me, playing for her. Just a quick note about the carol medleys. We were trying to keep them easy to sing along with whether you had words in front of you or not. So I'm just stitching together the first verse of 2 or 3 carols in a row for each of the medleys. So please sing along. It's meant to be enjoyed together. Anyways, enough from me. Please enjoy our Christmas Eve virtual service.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strain.
Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat
The first Noel, the angel did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay, in fields where they lay keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of
to his cradle, leaving their flock strong like with holy fear. We too will thither bend our joyful footsteps. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Sing, choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God in the highest. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Yea, Lord, we greet thee, born this happy morning. Jesus, to thee be glory given. Word of the Father, now in flesh appearing. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord.
It came upon the midnight clear, that glorious song of all, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to men, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Where shepherds watch their flocks by night, all seated on the ground, the angel of the Lord came down, and glory shone around, and glory shone around. Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still we see thee lie, above thy deep and dreamless sleep, the silent stars go by. Yet in thy dark street shineth the everlasting light. Oh, come to us, abide with us, our Lord Emmanuel.
cold and weary, with a baby inside, and I wonder what I've done. Holy Father, you have come and chosen me now to carry your Son. I am waiting in a silent prayer. I am frightened by the load I bear, in a world as cold as stone. Must I walk this path alone? Be with me now, be with me now. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven. Do you wonder as you watch my face if a wiser one should have had my place? But I offer all I am for the mercy of your plan. Help me be strong, help me be, help me. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven, hold me together, be forever near me. Breath of heaven, breath of heaven, light in my darkness, pour over me your holiness, for you are holy. Breath of heaven.
Reading from the Gospel according to John, chapter 1, verses 14 through 18. And the Word became flesh and lived among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, This was he of whom I said, 'He who comes after me ranks ahead of me, because he was before me.' From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known." Once upon a time, there was a man who looked upon Christmas as a lot of humbug. He really wasn't a Scrooge. He was a very kind and decent person, generous to his family, upright in all his dealings with people. But he just didn't believe all that stuff about an incarnation, which churches proclaim at Christmas. And he was too honest to pretend that he did. "I'm really sorry to upset you," he told his wife, who was a very faithful churchgoer. "But I simply can't understand this claim that God became human. It doesn't make any sense to me." On Christmas Eve, his wife and children went to church for the evening service. He, however, declined an invitation to accompany them. "I'd feel like a hypocrite," he explained. "I'd much rather stay here at home. But rest assured, I'll wait up for you." Shortly after his family drove away in the car, snow began to fall. He went to the window and watched the flurries getting heavier and heavier. "If we must have Christmas," he reflected, "I guess it's nice to have a white one." He went back to his chair by the fireside and began to read the newspaper. A few minutes later, he was startled by a thudding sound. It was quickly followed by another, then another. He thought that someone must be throwing snowballs at the window. When he went to the front door to investigate, he found a flock of birds huddled miserably in the snow. They'd been caught in the storm, and in a desperate search for shelter, they had tried to fly right through his window. "I can't let these poor creatures lie here and freeze," he thought to himself. "But how can I help them?" Then he remembered the barn where the children's pony was stabled. It would provide a nice, warm, safe shelter. He quickly put on his coat, galoshes, gloves, tramped through the deepening snow to the barn. He opened the doors wide and turned on the light. But the birds didn't come in. "Food will bring them in," he thought. So he hurried back to the house for some breadcrumbs, which he sprinkled on the snow to make a trail into the barn. To his dismay, the birds ignored the breadcrumbs. And they just continued to either lie there or flop around helplessly in the snow. He tried shooing them into the barn by walking and waving his arms. They simply scattered in every direction. They went in every direction except into the warm, lit barn. "If only I could be a bird myself for a few minutes," he thought to himself. "Perhaps I could lead them to safety." Just at that very moment, he could hear in the distance the church bells begin to ring. He stood there silently for a while, listening to the bells, heralding the glad tidings of Christmas. Then he sank to his knees in the snow. Now I get it, he said. Now I understand. Now I see why you had to do it. Merry Christmas.
The virgin sings aloud. Jesus.